Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we're here with the Friday Ramblings. It's time for a little bit of fun at the start of the new year, and we hope you have so far been having a happy new year and your 2025 is going good. We're going to start things off with a bit of fun because we're going to discuss one of the oft overlooked promoters of professional wrestling, and that is David McLane. Now, David McLane is infamous in wrestling because, well, he likes to focus on a very niche corner of professional wrestling, and that is women's professional wrestling. We've discussed this a lot on the show, doing histories of different women's championships, and how convoluted that's become due to the fact that women's wrestling goes back to the earliest days of professional wrestling when things like championships were not explicitly tied to a specific promotion. It's a whole thing. There's some wonderful videos. Please check them out in my archives if you would like. But David McLane's a little bit different because David McLane, well, his stuff has always been less about the super competitive sport of professional wrestling and kind of keeping it on the entertaining side. David McLane may be best known for Glow, a promotion that has become much more well known in recent years thanks to a Netflix TV show presenting a fictionalized version of Glow. But that was not his only promotion, and that is why we are giving some highlight to David McLane. Let's break down to it. David McLane is officially an American businessman and has worked as both a wrestling promoter and television producer. Besides his wrestling promotions that we're going to discuss, he has also created the ESPN series of the World Roller Hockey League, Pro Beach Hockey, and the Triple Crown of Polo. And all these programs are considered properties under the company banner of David McLane Enterprises Incorporated. So how did David get his start in all this good athletic fun? Well, McLane grew up watching professional wrestling on television in his hometown of Indianapolis. And of course, fans of the old territory system know Indianapolis was a noted wrestling territory for many years. As a teenager, he launched the Dick the Bruiser fan club, selling photographs of the wrestling star and other local professional wrestlers through mail order. Bruiser would eventually bring McLane in to work in the office of Bruiser's Indianapolis-based wrestling promotion, World Wrestling Association, aka the WWA. Keep that name in mind, it's going to come up later. There he learned the ropes of promotion and marketing, eventually became the ring announcer and match commentator while attending the Park Tudor School and Indiana University. So, there you go. The kid put himself through college. Good on him. He's got the real world skills and interning. He's got the business education, good times. He's setting himself up for success. While continuing to work for the WWA, McLane started his own promotional company to promote live events and concerts throughout the Midwest, including the stadium presentation of the Budweiser Country Concert Tour and the marketing of groups like New Edition in select markets. Thus, he has got himself all set up to run his own promotions. He's working in live marketing, he's learning and building his way up. He's expanding into all forms of live events with some concert work as well as his wrestling promoting. Time for the big risk. McLane began the first ever all-women's wrestling television program in 1986, The Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, Glow for short. Glow was a syndication rating success, achieving superior ratings to the WWF syndicated Superstar series which launched at the same time, was frequently shown in adjacent time slots on the same stations. Shot at the Riviera Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, the show garnered a cult following and ran from 1986 to 1992. The strong cult following would, as we've said at the start of this, lead to a Glow TV series based on the promotion created by Netflix in June of 2017. David McLane would later sell Glow. We'll get more into its in-depth history probably on another video because it is the most famous of his promotions. But we are focusing on the man himself behind the madness. After selling Glow, McLane partnered with ESPN for the creation of the World Roller Hockey League in 1992, the first made-for-television roller hockey league in the United States. He arranged for these events to be sponsored by Franklin Sports and Walt Disney World, where the resort staged the events from their MGM studio grounds. Disney, of course, is famous for also doing tapings of WCW in the early 90s from the MGM studios. So, it was not unheard of. Wasn't a big leap for Disney to invest in this. McLane eventually merged the WRHL with Roller Hockey International, introducing Pepsi and Taco Bell to this niche sport through a league sponsorship. In 1997, McLane would again partner with ESPN to create Pro Beach Hockey, with over 156 hours of original programming for ESPN. This allowed him to get the sport out of enclosed areas and into beach venues, which was an open-air environment and was much more accessible to casual audiences to come across it and give it a chance. Now, during the same period that he was working with roller hockey, he started his second promotion of the wrestling variety, the Powerful Women of Wrestling, aka POW. Yes, he kind of shuffled the first W and the O around, so it would be a word, but we forgive him, it's a marketing thing. POW would feature many of the wrestlers who he gave starts in Glow due to pay disputes with the new Glow management. POW focused more on actual wrestling, whereas Glow was focused on comedy, variety, and skits, the wrestling being more of a plot point to move the comedy and the story skits forward than what you usually get in wrestling, which is the backstage skits and the comedic elements moving the matches forward and helping give a story to them. See, he kind of did things a little with Glow. POW is more the traditional model. Some of the women that showed up in POW that would be known from traditional wrestling promotions would be Luna Vachon, Medusa Michelli, aka Alundra Blaze to you WWE fans, Wendy Richter, along with some of her opponents like Peggy Lee Leather, and as I said, a variety of Glow veterans, including one who was not famous at the time but would later go on to be famous in traditional wrestling because originally known in Glow as Tina Ferrari, later in POW as Nina, Lisa Moretti would, after her run in POW, go on to fame in the WWE as Ivory and is currently a WWE Hall of Famer. Good on her. A classic example of how David McLane's promoting created opportunities for young talent. POW had a singles championship and a tag team championship and was aligned with McLane's old buddy, the World Wrestling Association, the WWA, in Indianapolis. So there was some wonderful cross-promoting to the point that the POW Championship and POW Tag Team Championship would, when his performers would show up at WWA shows, be referred to as the WWA Women's Championship and Women's Tag Team Championship. Basically, they shared the championship, with it having a slightly different name depending on who was running the show. Good times. But POW itself would be defunct in 1990. And the WWA, well, you know, like many territories, it faded as well. But everything's all good. It should be noted that at the time that the wrestlers were in POW, that they were featured in the 1989 film American Angels: Baptism of Blood. Again, David McLane got his cross-promoting going. He may not have been able to put on something that, 90% of America wanted to watch and be the biggest thing in television, but he knew how to get eyes on his product, how to get his product's name out there. Good marketing. He was a good promoter. She didn't say was, is. He is still with us, All of this would lead to his third attempt at an all-women's wrestling promotion, and one that is still in business, although it has been a little sporadic at times. WOW, the Women of Wrestling. Yep, in 2000, McLane returned to women's wrestling to create WOW, shot at the Great Western Forum in Inglewood, California. WOW was syndicated in 100 markets, becoming the #1 rated syndicated wrestling program in the markets of New York City and Los Angeles. McLane and his business partner, Jeannie Buss, who is also the controlling owner and president of the Los Angeles Lakers of the NBA, repackaged WOW in 2011 and aired its programs in select cities. December 2014, WOW would launch into digital media as WOW Superheroes. In 2018, McLane, Jeannie Buss, and Mark Burnett would contact with Mark Cuban's AXS TV for the broadcast of WOW events for 2019. On October 6, 2021, on top of the Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas, Viacom GPS Global Distribution President Dan Cohen, alongside McLane, Jeannie Buss, and AJ Menendez, known in WWE as AJ Lee, aka Mrs. CM Punk, announced Viacom CBS had entered into a multi-year distribution agreement for WOW. This would give WOW its biggest distribution opportunity for the U.S. and abroad in the history of not just this promotion, but women's focused professional wrestling in general. So WOW has been hanging on and is continuing to get an outreach. As I said, David McLane is all about getting eyes on the product, putting it where people can find it. Now, has WOW produced any wonderful people? Yes. WOW's produced, helped give early shots to many women who would go on to work in other wrestling promotions, such as Amber O'Neil, Candice LeRae, who is currently in WWE as well. Yes, yes. Faith the Lioness, currently in NXT, is Nikita Lyons. Willow Nightingale had a run in WoW as Eye Candy. Kiera Hogan worked under the name Fire. Jessica Havoc, who has worked in TNA as well. And many others, including Giselle Shaw, Selena Majors, who's one of your veterans coming into work, Tessa Blanchard, and women and others, including Mickie James, have spent time in WoW building their name up before working in other standard men's and women's divisions wrestling promotions. Again, we would really have to sit down one day and go through the entire history of the WoW roster to call out everybody, but just know that if you dig through the WoW archives, odds are you will find one of your favorite female wrestlers that's currently kicking butt. WoW has both a singles world championship, a tag team championship, as well as a trios tag team championship currently. So good times. Now, of course, as we mentioned before, David McLane would also dip into the the sport of polo with the Triple Crown of Polo, a championship series broadcast domestically on ESPN2 during weekends and internationally in 12 different languages by the ESPN International Network. Marketing sponsorships with Tiffany & Company and Lexus helped propel the TCP to one of the most prestigious tournaments within polo, aka the Sport of Kings. This means basically that when it's all summed up, who is David McLane? David McLane is a guy that at his core is a wrestling fan who didn't just want to enjoy wrestling, but bring that joy to the wider world. But he also recognizes that there are other sports, like your roller hockey and your polo, that are primed for better exposure to television audiences. David McLane is a guy that from his teen years learned marketing and live event promotion from both academia, as we mentioned, he did attend college, good on you, as well as real world exposure. Now, yes, Dave McLane has been criticized for the fact that all his wrestling work, which is the bulk of what he's known for, has been women's wrestling, in that at times it has been less about the pure athleticism of the competitors and more about how physically attractive they are. Now, we're going to be a little counterpoint to that. Now, yes, one can make an argument Dave McLane might be a little too blatant in how much he enjoys women. No judgment in and of itself, but you can see why some people might raise one eyebrow to a guy who constantly seems to promote wrestling, but not men's wrestling. The thing is, when it comes to men's wrestling, there's plenty of places to see it. At the time he first started Glow, women's wrestling was in a slump. And certainly, even in the era of POW and the earliest days of WoW, we did not have the perception of women's wrestling in the USA that we have now. Everybody, for a long time, was more concerned with how good the women looked in spandex, sometimes flat out bikinis and lingerie, than how they competed as athletes even if it is a sport that is predetermined. At its core, the worst David McLane could be accused of is perpetuating current trends and perceptions of women athletes. And considering he's a businessman, at the end of the day, you can't fault him too hard for that. When your job is to make money, not just for you, but so you can, pay your employees and keep your business open so they can, get that exposure to work in other places that potentially could pay them more money so they can make a living. Chasing what's currently trendy in the market is not technically a sin. And let's be honest, he could have done it a lot worse. Yes, you control the depths of glow and pow and wow, and you can find some stuff where you're like, did you really have to do that? But as we've stated, you had women who had already made their name, work in the old territories as competitive wrestlers who were willing to work there. They could have retired from the business and gone on to other things if they didn't like the way David was presenting things. But they were fine with it. They had fun. You had women who took what they learned in those promotions, continued to build their skills up, and would go on to bigger and better things, such as the aforementioned Ivory. Now, in the grand scheme of professional wrestling and its history in North America, where do we rank David McLane in his promotions? They get a lot of credit for their distribution deals. There were a lot of markets where, you had WWE, maybe a local territory, but for an upstart promotion to bring a product specifically designed for television and get it in some of the markets he did, that was something a lot of classic wrestling promoters were struggling to do, to get their product on television in markets where they could find new audience and keep their doors open. So we will give Dave McLane credit for that. Did he kind of exploit the fact that it was an underrepresented niche market? Maybe. But again, most highly successful business persons, CEOs, are not going to fault that. They're going to sit there and go, yeah, look, if he was the only player in the game, it's not his fault. David McLane has never had a problem getting new ideas on television. He has gotten major companies to sponsor niche products. Maybe if he had had some bigger money investors up front, he may have had better TV deals. We don't know. It's your classic hypotheticals, but we can say this. David McLane is still out there promoting. David McLane is still out there making sure, whether it's wrestling or polo or any other niche sport, he is keeping himself busy and he is being reasonably successful at it. He may not be a billionaire, but he's keeping food on his table. He's keeping a roof above his head. And for that, we salute David McLane. And we hope that as wrestling continues to shift its focus and find new ways of presenting itself, that WOW or any other promotion he may start up or be involved in continues to give opportunities to mostly unknown talent, because that's how they put food on their table. That's how they keep a roof above their head. Chase that opportunity all 2025 and join us every time a new video drops. You can make sure of that if you like and subscribe. Throw us a comment. And hey, if you think at his core old Mr. McLane ain't all that hot, tell me in the comments. I am not going to shy away from dissenting opinions, but do remember, we here at the Ramblings, in years previous and in this year ahead, are going to be all about constructive criticism and calm discussions so everybody can enjoy themselves. Because it's entertainment. It's supposed to be entertaining. Sorry, but my channel's just not here for the hate. Have fun, and I'll see you at the next Rambling.